Hello everyone, my name is Megan Angel, and today I will be discussing Chapter 13 related to Human Resource Management. My classmate Janelle Inman and I developed this PowerPoint outlining Chapter 13. There are 4 objectives from this chapter. The first is to, by the end, be able to write and interpret a job analysis and job description. The second is to be able to identify the basic techniques of employee recruitment, selection, and retention. The third is to be able to understand the principles of and methods that apply to scheduling and staffing. And the fourth is to be able to appreciate the applicable laws and processes involved in determining compensation. As a human resource manager, your responsibility is to manage all people that work for an organization. Part of your responsibilities include creating job descriptions, completing job analyses, orchestrating recruitment, selecting qualified applicants, employee retention, and managing compensation. As a human resource manager for a new organization, one of the first steps to hiring new employees is going through the process of a job analysis. The goals of a job analysis are to detail particular employee duties, to improve the organization's strategic goals, to detail employee responsibilities, in addition to classifying each position of command. The job analysis process consists of conducting interviews, administering questionnaires, observing employees on the job, evaluating pre-existing training programs at that facility, and monitoring work logs. After the completion of a successful job analysis, you will have a more accurate and detailed job description. You will have an increased knowledge of selection and recruitment strategies. You may have possibly identified training needs or flaws in current training programs. You might also revise your guidelines for compensation rates for different positions based on risks involved, skills required, education levels required, or responsibilities such as more or less supervision or having budgetary responsibilities. When a human resource manager is looking to hire new employees, he or she will develop a job description for that position. The job description will specify functions or roles of a position. It will list specific responsibilities or tasks. It will indicate the managerial level. It will also list required qualifications or certifications, and will often include salary ranges. Included in a job description would be a job title, a salary range, the division or department of that organization if applicable, a chain of command to whom the job holder would report to, and the date the job description was last revised. In addition, the job description would also include a brief summary of the job, the primary responsibilities, any additional responsibilities, any knowledge or skill requirements such as training and certifications, and working conditions such as hours per day and per week, in addition to the working environment, attire guidelines, activity, and any sort of physical demands. This is an example of a job posting. At the very top is listed the job title of Restaurant General Manager. Below is listed the company name and location, followed by the salary per year. Below that lists the manager responsibilities. For example, remain accountable for all profit and loss figures, and focus on building sales and forecasting future performance. Manager qualifications include things such as 5+ years of QSR experience, and the ability to coach, train, and motivate employees. Manager benefits include salary range of $40,000 plus with bonus potential and long-term disability insurance. The job type is full-time, and a couple things listed as required experience are being in the restaurant industry for at least 3 years and at least 1 year of management experience. And you can see at the very bottom lists that the job description was last revised 4 days ago. Two terms used when discussing job descriptions are job specification and performance standards. Job specification is essentially the conditions, basic skills needed, and any educational or training qualifications associated with a job, and these can be found in the knowledge, skills, and abilities section of a job description. Performance standards outline the company's criteria for successful performance. It avoids confusion of what is expected of an employee, especially when he or she is going through an annual review. There are a few steps to a successful job recruitment process. The first is determining desirable employee traits. The second is designing an effective job application. The third is posting the job application on credible, reliable websites. And the fourth is observing the applications for any possible warning signs. Warning signs include leaving blanks on questions such as, "Have you ever been convicted of a crime?" Any attempts to scratch out an answer, which means that they have possibly written something that they don't want you to see. Any multiple or short-term employment stints or gaps in employment, which may mean job hopping, jail time, or any lack of commitment. And also, you want to look for reasons for leaving their past job and who that employee blames. In order to ensure a successful selection process, the human resource manager should develop interview questions based on required job tasks, desired employee attitude and traits, and skill assessments. There are 3 main interview types. A behavioral interview is where you're asking questions that allow the potential employers and employees to evaluate each other. Employers are asking potential employees to give them sometimes specific examples of how they've performed in the face of a problem in the past, to get to know how they might handle a situation through their organization. It is essential that they consist of open-ended questions that can't be answered with a yes or no. A panel interview involves a variety of individuals interviewing candidates using standardized interview questions. Star candidates from the first round are then interviewed by the next upper tier, such as a department head or supervisor. Final hiring recommendations are made by the panel, with the final decision made by the department head or restaurant manager. This type of interview can provide input from multiple organizational tiers. A peer interview is where peer interview teams will interview the potential candidates. The department head makes the final decision, but takes recommendations from peer interview teams into strong consideration. Research suggests that this process reduces turnover by providing a better cultural fit with the organization and at least some degree of acceptance of the employee by his peers. As an attempt to reduce turnover, human resource managers can conduct various methods of employee retention strategies. For example, they should always be providing sincere recognition and appreciation for jobs well done. When employees feel appreciated, they're always more motivated to do their job to the best of their ability. Conducting stay interviews can also be beneficial. Stay interviews are when an organization periodically invites employees to discuss what it would take to keep them, what would cause them to leave, what energizes them about their job, and what the employer could do differently. 30 or 90-day reviews are recommended for newly hired employees, allowing managers to correct any errors or attitudes. They can also provide guidelines of circumstances or behaviors that provide grounds for terminating an employee immediately, such as theft, unexcused absences, or serious sanitary code violations. 360-degree feedback is when a worker receives feedback from several sources, including supervisors to be sure, but also peers, subordinates, customers, suppliers, and with some, these reviews are anonymous. The advantages to this method are that the employee doesn't think that the review is biased or one-sided. A disadvantage is that they can be time-consuming and difficult to administer. Exit interviews are conducted when an employee is leaving the company. Questions may be asked, such as what causes them to leave, what could have been done to remedy any problems. They may also ask if the employee leaving is leaving because of a problem with management or company policies. They generally ask about likes and dislikes of the organization. Training and development is an essential aspect of employee retention. Training is conducted at the time of hire, and initial job training topics may be attire guidelines, company hours and policies, in addition to safety rules. Training is continuously required throughout employment in order to maintain or better meet company standards. Employee empowerment involves giving your employees all of the resources and tools that they need to do their job in the instance that you're not there. When a human resource manager is trying to develop his or her staff, the first part of the staffing process involves conducting a job analysis. The second step is determining how many employees are required to complete a variety of essential tasks over the course of one workday or shift. The most crucial aspect of scheduling is first determining how many employees are needed to accomplish all tasks over any given shift or workday. This is your full-time equivalent, or FTE number. As an example, if an operation uses 8 full-time employees who each work 40 hours per week, and 4 part-time employees who each work 20 hours per week, the number of FTEs is 10. This utilizes the number determined by the staffing process to develop an appropriate schedule across a range of hours and workdays. This slide presents an example of a time bar schedule. When a schedule is displayed on a time bar, it is clear to all exactly who is doing what job during what times. There are many factors that go into employee compensation. Compensation consists of a salary plus fringe benefits. Fringe benefits may include things such as medical, vision, dental, prescriptions, a fitness facility, or training. There are also compensation alternatives. For example, today's families will often trade some compensation value for amenities such as a convenient daycare service or fitness facility. Some food service operations also offer meals incorporated into their compensation. There are highly regulated rules related to overtime pay, holidays, shift differentials, and other factors. Larger chains may have some corporate policies, while smaller independent companies may be able to adjust their rules individually. When food service operations offer meals incorporated into their compensation, sometimes it may be fully funded, Sometimes it's partially funded. For example, you may get a 30% discount. And sometimes those meals are deducted from payroll. Related to compensation, there are a few federal laws that all food service managers must be aware of. The first is the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA. This is a federal law commonly known for setting standards for minimum wage, overtime pay, the use of child labor, and record keeping that apply to most private and public employees. This law gives the U.S. Department of Labor the authority to assign civil and criminal penalties for violations of the law, and also includes provisions allowing individual employees to file private lawsuits. This law also regulates who is covered by minimum wage standards, when overtime pay must be provided, and what kinds of records need to be kept by employers. The McNamara-O'Hara Service Contract Act, or SCA, applies to workers on federal service contracts. The Walsh-Healy Public Contracts Act, or PCA, applies to federal supply contracts. Both SCA and PCA apply to food service managers who work for large organizations under contract with government facilities. Some food service managers work for contract management companies with extensive government contracts. The Immigration and Nationality Act, or INA, involves enforcement of labor standard protections and inspection for compliance with employment eligibility verification and record-keeping requirements. In addition, the Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, entitles eligible employees up to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected leave for certain family and medical reasons. For the duration of FMLA leave, the employer must maintain the employee's health coverage under any group health plan. The Consumer Credit Protection Act, or CCPA, involves wage garnishment protection. This act protects employees from being discharged by employers because their wages have been garnished over any single debt, and it limits the amount of an employee's earnings that may be garnished in any 1 week. This law applies to all employees who receive earnings for personal services, but usually does not apply to tips. Equal Employment Opportunity Laws, or EEO, prohibit specific types of employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, or status as an individual with a disability or a protected veteran. The most common areas of wage and hour violations in food service operations include the failure to pay overtime for all hours worked, improper application of the tip credit, misclassification of individuals as exempt from overtime, and the failure to maintain records chronically, either hours of work or application of the tip credit. The Taft-Hartley Act specifies very clear rules regulating what employers can do, balancing the powers of labor and management. In conclusion, there are a few essential managerial implications of a human resource manager. The first is always showing respect. By giving respect, you can ensure that your employees give you respect in return. By ensuring that your employees feel valued and appreciated, they will feel motivated to do their job to the best of their ability. Empowering your employees to make decisions is essential to an effective workforce. When you're not in the office, your employees will feel empowered and confident that their decisions are in line with all company policies. Encouraging employees to discuss job-related issues or concerns with you ensures that you can tackle any problems before they become a bigger issue. It also ensures that your employees feel comfortable with you and will come to you anytime that they feel uncomfortable or unhappy. By providing measurable performance standards, employees know what is expected of them and are able to do their job as expected. By educating, training, and motivating your staff, you will have a staff that is happy to be there, motivated to do their job to the best of their ability, and are excited to do their job in line with company policies because that's what you've made them feel confident to do.